Hey everyone, welcome to Holistic Lifestyle Tips, Getting Real About the Woo Woo. I am Becky Russell, owner of wellness company Hope Essential, and I am a holistic lifestyle educator. And what that means is I believe in treating the entire body, the mind, body, and soul, from the inside out, and not treating just symptoms, but getting to the root of your health concern. And I feel that my uh, purpose is to give people hope to have a quality of life as they age. And I am not an expert on anything other than what not to do because I saw what uh, that kind of bad quality of life looks like as you age. And I don't want that for me or for anyone. So, uh, we know better now, so let's do better. And I have been living a holistic lifestyle for over 25 years, and I'm just wanting to let you know you have choices and just want to share what I've learned along the way to hopefully help you as well. I am a wellness advocate for doTERRA essential oils. They're the most pure and potent oils available, and they're a perfect fit for a holistic lifestyle because you've got to limit the amount of chemicals you put on and in your body. The oils are great for that, and then the oils also have a therapeutic benefit. So they're just, when I found them 5 years ago, it was just a perfect fit. I wished I'd found them sooner. So I also believe you have to be healthy spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And the physical is what we often focus on at the risk of forgetting about the other two. So I want to make a point of also including those things. So tonight is week 16, and we're going to talk about forgiveness. And honestly, forgiveness can affect, of course, your emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, because I know I was raised that, you know, Jesus forgave and we need to forgive. Whatever your belief system is, I think forgiveness is a pretty common one. And then physical wellness, the way forgiveness can impact that is uh, you can literally cause high blood pressure or uh, some heart symptoms by carrying a grudge, resentment, bitterness for a long time. And so it's all works together. So that's why it doesn't help. Well, it helps, but that's why it's not the answer to treat just symptoms. We have got to get to the root. So, what is the definition of forgiveness? I think that can be a little confusing. Some people assume certain things. So, here's one definition: a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or a group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, condoning, or excusing offenses. Forgiveness brings the forgiver peace of mind and frees him or her from corrosive anger. I love that word corrosive because that's so true. It empowers you to recognize the pain you suffered without letting that pain define you, enabling you to heal and move on with your life. That truly is a gift. Forgiveness and revenge are both choices. And I just want to sort of go over bullet points of an article I found that talked a lot about forgiveness. And of course, you've heard that saying, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. That's what this is sort of focusing on. It helps us move on instead of dwelling on bitterness and anger. And research bears out these benefits of forgiveness. It's shown to elevate mood, enhance optimism, and guard against anger, stress, anxiety, and depression. So if you think about what all those things I just said, uh, anger, stress, anxiety, depression, we have medications for those things, right? And a lot of times that's what's addressed instead of getting to the root. I'm not saying we should never be on those medications. I'm just saying we need to keep digging. Carrying the hurt or anger of an offense leads the body to release stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. Eliminating the perpetual flow of those hormones may also explain why forgiveness provides physical health benefits, such as lowering the risk of high blood pressure and heart problems. You can find all sorts of articles that reflect the physical and the emotional connection there. And also, one thing they point out is self-forgiveness is often the first step to be able to forgive other people. I think if you don't love yourself, you can't love other people. If you can't forgive yourself, you can't forgive other people, because you can't even do it to yourself. So self-forgiveness is very important. I can think of a situation where I needed to forgive myself. I was young, newly married, and after I got back in the, a couple months after the wedding, I found out that one of my bridesmaids had been pretty ugly during the whole thing. And somehow, I guess I was in my own little world and didn't realize it. But she, put down my little town and the people, and was very condescending, and it really hurt my feelings. Back then, I didn't have the self-confidence or the maturity to confront her about it. And so when she would call me, she was in Ohio, I'm in Texas, she would call and I would just be very brief and, not always in a hurry. And she would ask if something was wrong, and I'd just say no. And of course, after how many times of this, she finally gave up. She knew something was wrong, but I wouldn't have that conversation. Knowing what I know now, I would never do that. But I was a kid. And so I have to forgive myself for being immature and selfish, and uh, it just is what it is. But I would not make that same mistake now. So I have to forgive myself. And I did try to find her to ask her forgiveness, and I can't find her. And so I just put it in my heart that I pray for her forgiveness. I hope she somehow knows. And there's nothing else I can do. And of course, I try not to repeat that mistake. I'll have those hard conversations now. An example of me having to forgive, I, for quite a while, was very resentful of the medical community because of several things. Unnecessary surgery, painful tests that ended up being unnecessary. The way how many experts couldn't find out what was causing pain, and I pretty much had to solve it myself, which so I was a little resentful of the whole thing, and that's probably pushed me further into the holistic realm. Uh, but and so I worked for a long time on letting go of all that, because I knew I can't heal if I don't let it go. But what I realized was, as I was retelling my story to somebody, I was getting those same emotions and feeling all that anger and frustration again. And it made me realize I really hadn't um, forgiven all the way. And so I think I've done better, and I'm almost there. And I think part of it is I've pretty much decided that there was a reason for that, and it made me much more empathetic and compassionate, so that I could do a better job now of helping people who are in pain. And so, if that's my cross to bear, that's okay, because I can um, be that tenacious for other people, trying to get answers for them like I was for myself. So, silver lining and all that. It doesn't mean I, you know, um, forget, or, I'm always going to remember that. But as long as there isn't that, I'm not reliving it all the time. I'm not feeling that anger and resentment and so forth. Um, I think they did the best they could with what they knew at the time. And so another article talked about forgiveness and restoration, and it sort of asked the question, why do we find it so hard to forgive? And a point they raised was, we don't necessarily know the correct definition. So they made a point of pointing out what forgiveness is not. So forgiveness is not letting the offender off the hook. It's not about returning to God the right to take care of justice. We That's not up to us. They have to look in the mirror. They'll get their punishment at some other way. It's not up to us. Forgiveness is not letting the offense recur again and again. That lack of respect and abuse, that's not healthy. That's not what is acceptable either. Forgiveness does not mean we have to revert to being the victim. And also not about being a martyr about it either. That's another sort of pride thing. Forgiveness is not the same as reconciling. You can forgive someone and know that they cannot be a part of your life anymore. Forgiveness is a process, not an event. That's an example of me with the doctors. I prayed about it. I did the work, and I thought after a year or so that I had, that's long enough, right? I assumed I had resolved it, but it wasn't true. So almost like grief, you have to go through stages. It just doesn't happen overnight. We have to forgive every time, but in the same vein, if you find yourself forgiving that same person for the same hurts, then you are part of that dance. And so you have to do the work, figure out what's going on there. Forgetting does not mean denying reality or ignoring repeated offenses. There are just some people that are not good, and they're going to hurt you no matter what. And so we have to find a way to respond to them differently and not expect them to be different. There are evil people, bad people. It's not based on others' actions, but on our attitude. If they don't repent, we still have to forgive. Withholding forgiveness is a refusal to let go of perceived power. And that's a dangerous thing. So you don't want that. Sometimes we forgive too quickly to avoid pain or to manipulate a situation. That's not healthy either. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It's normal. We're going to remember those. There's going to be triggers that make us remember those things, but we don't dwell in it. And maybe one way to deal with that is to, when that comes up, just say, thank you for the reminder of how important forgiveness is. And I think the last thing maybe is forgiveness starts with a mental decision. It is a choice. And also remember, though, that emotional healing may or may not follow quickly after we forgive. So there's just no timelines on this. And I wanted to see what you felt about what we talked about tonight. Anything jump out at you? Do you have a hard time with forgiving others, or is it harder to forgive yourself? And if you do have a struggle with forgiveness, what step, based on maybe what you heard tonight, what step will you take to work on that? So I would love to see the comments below. Till next time, choose you, choose natural, choose now.